Yes. Oh?
Does it work?
Oh, it works. It all
Yay!
works.
Greetings, everybody!
It
How are you
all
today?
works.
Good.
Oh, we're here for news, too. So,
Yeah.
welcome to Depths of Gaming, episode 32.
Yay!
This is the 32nd episode of all of the episodes we have done, and it is glorious. Utterly glorious.
Indeed. Indeed, I doodly do. Now, there is a piece of news that we will have a little bit to the end that I cannot wait until we can cover.
Yeah, the great thing about this is people are like, oh, Trump, this and that, and like, part of what us liberals have been saying is that with Trump as president, every single aspect of business is going to suffer, and that has been apparent everywhere.
Everything is Trump's fault.
Everything is Trump's fault. Hey, if they can blame a mouse farting on the black guy, I think we can blame business from the business professional not working. So, as you guys know, the Loot Crate thing came out recently, and the ESRB has decided that it's going to do the right thing, which is, oh, that's right, no, it's just going to be a stubborn, like, but our job is to regulate, we cannot innovate, danger, cannot, But we're coming to that. First, as is the Wiz Atward way, he is going to leak stuff that we won't be able to play for about 2 months, 3 months.
For the regular viewers, all one of you, it's the Stellaris segment.
This is the Stellaris segment, because Wiz does this thing. Wiz Antword being he works at Paradox at this point. We don't fucking know what he does. He has a title, but we can never remember it. And if we call him the wrong title, he gets angry. So, fuck it. He works at Paradox.
I have a title for him. The Prime Minister of Things Going Smoothly.
The Lord and Master of Stellaris, Wiz Antword, has decreed that star bases are going to get expanded in whatever next contenty patchy thing they do. Theoretically. I mean, he says, oh, this is far off in the future. I guess Wiz is Trump now.
So what's going to get expanded about star bases, actually?
So, as we discussed the other week, we talked about there's going to be a defenses rework, but this time they actually really discussed it. Because the last picture he showed last week was of a large fortress with a bunch of little defense panels around it. So now
I remember now.
So now he showed off the new Starbase screen, and so it says it's called he selected the planet and says Alpha Centauri Starhold, and he can build modules, he can build buildings, which kind of confuses me, like orbital structures. And one of the things he's building in the queue is a defense grid thing. So there's also a grade shipyard tab. Like, from what I can see is now star bases do more. You don't really have to have 10 star bases to start pooping out ships anymore.
Oh, I see. So basically, because how it worked until now is basically every single planet that you could colonize was had the ability to spawn a starbase, to build a starbase. Right?
And that would improve your naval capacity. That would you could build some modules on it.
Yes, ships. Exactly. Increasing the size of the starbase made the gave the starbase the ability to pump out bigger ships, as well as gave you more capacity for your armada. Right.
The issue with starbases is that they never got them right, not since the beginning. In the beginning, they only had like 400 or so fleet power, so you could rush the early game disgustingly easily, and then they patched it one, and then the most recent iteration is now they have like a couple thousand power. So for the early game, you're kind of safe until someone gets really powerful ships and then rushes you. So once again, there's been a change. So now defenses are going to play a much higher role. You can build defenses. You can upgrade your main building to be more defensive, because now it seems to be a static ship. It's more of a defensive structure than a shipyard now. Now you build the shipyard part of it.
Oh, I see. That's interesting. So basically, you build like a space station above your
planet,
colony.
And then you build shipyards as a part of its modules, and those can be used to pump out ships.
I see. That's interesting. That's definitely going to change the dynamic of the game a little bit.
Well, we're hopefully going to see more military going on, because right now the AI is kind of dumb. You're dumb.
Listen, AI is always a little bit on the retarded side, because it's very difficult to make computers behave like
the thing about
semi-competent players.
We call it AI, but here's the funny thing: is we draw a difference when we're talking in sci-fi.
It's basically a script, yeah.
Between an AI and a VI, but it's even dumber than a VI. It's not even a VI. See, a VI can still do limited innovation, but a video game AI is literally a code that tries to guess what you're doing.
No, it's even dumber than that. Video game AI is not an AI at all.
No.
It's basically it's someone somewhere slapped a fucking idiotic marketable tag on it and said, "Oh, it's AI." No, it's not. It's basically a script. If this, then this. And while this, then this. And that's it. So there is no strategy, there is no nothing.
So having triggered Jahith, let's go to our next article here.
Ooh, I hate when people talk about AI and then they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Well, you plug the gigawatts into the thingamajigger.
Yeah.
And boyfriend dungeon.
I have a bone to pick with fucking Stephen Hawking on it. Because he's a fucking idiot when it comes to AI.
So, the tide of dating sims is never going to fucking stop on Steam. Just visual novels are in, because they take no effort to make as far as video games go, and they still get all of the memeing and love because they look good.
To be fair, I would love to see a text-based adventure text-based role-playing game on Steam.
There's a
few. That would be awesome. I know, but I want to see more.
Oh yeah. Bring back Zork. Zork remastered. Zork remastered. Give us the Zork remastered, you son of a bitch.
Talking about Zork, do you know that you can actually play the old Zork games on Kindle and what's the other one? There's Kindle, there's the Kobo, and then there's the another.
But it's actually not entirely.
Yeah, you can
fair.
actually play those on e-readers. Yes.
Right. Yeah, other game. Yeah, I know. So Boyfriend Butt Dungeon. It's not really.
Boyfriend Butt Dungeon.
Huh?
Boyfriend Butt Dungeon? Is that a gay game?
No, that's the next game coming out from the Game Grumps, obviously. Boyfriend Butt Dungeon coming out 2019 from Dan and Aaron, GameGrumps.com. You know, I'm looking forward to if they actually make that game and I get some of the fat royalties for being the first to shill it.
You wish.
I wish, because I would be so hip I didn't even know I was hip.
Yep.
But Boyfriend...
You would be such a hipster that you wouldn't even know that you are a hipster. And you would be much cooler. And you would be much more hipster before the hipster was cool.
Yeah, I know, mansplaining.
Those are words.
And in this game, you're a person that's exploring this, like, dungeon area, but it's weird, it looks sci-fi, but it's not, and you collect the weapons, and the weapons are people, but they're not people, but they're people.
It's like Soul Eater thing.
It's like fucking Soul Eater, where they turn into weapons, but when you go out of the dungeon, they're not weapons. And it reminds me of this weird fucking anime where they're guns, but they're ladies, but they're guns, but they're ladies. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, Japan?
Basically, imagine fucking Claymore.
That's exactly what this game is about. You want to fuck your Claymore because he's sexy. And I'm not joking.
It's basically Transistor, but pushed way in the wrong direction.
Like, when you want to suck your dagger's dick, there's a problem.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, I kid. I kind of welcome weird and bizarre games to Steam because it needs more of them. Those are the ones that sell, really.
Yeah, but we need more games that are weird and innovative and less of the bullshit shit that is being pushed by all the hacks and fake game companies that spend 1 week on turning a Unity asset into a game and then jack up the money.
Pretty much.
We need less of that.
So now we get to the point where we just rail on Activision for like 20 minutes.
Yay!
Because they just got granted a patent.
And what a wonderful patent it is.
So this patent, as it's been explained, is it identifies items that are relevant to a player. And so this patent relies on the game being designed matchmaking. This matchmaking system is based around what does this player want to do, what can we make him buy, and how can we make them want to buy it. So
and then once he buys it, how do we make him happy with his purchase?
And so they, as part of the patent, they had to put in a flow chart. And I have this flowchart pulled up, and it starts with identify item that's relevant to the first player, identify item that the second player has, tune match variables and or coefficients to match the first and second players. AKA, what this third step says is take a person that bought this item and pit them against a player that has not bought this item. And then put these players in a match where the first player has an advantage. So let's say that you're a little kid, you don't understand how video games work, so you play as a sniper. No one blames you. It's not your fault you don't understand how to play video games very well. It's just you're a sniper. And God will punish you in the afterlife for your poor decisions because you just don't know what you're doing. And you know,
because you
hell
don't
isn't
know
a
what
poor
you really
place.
need is a shotgun.
We all know that shotguns are the master race, and if you don't use them, you're a horrible person. But I digress. For your pourable life decisions, you have chosen the sniper rifle and chose in your account, which everyone will know is a noob account because you use a sniper rifle, is marqueed as a sniper, and you've got the little basic "I'm a sniper" thing on it. Or they asked you when you made your account, what playstyle do you like, and you chose easy. And
or they basically monitor what kind of weapons do you use the most.
They notice whether or not you actually try to fight players and you actually like hang out in the back like camping. They notice if you do that. And so they're going to put you in maps with long corridors designed for snipers to just camp. And then you're going to get really angry and be like, oh, sniper rifles must actually be good. And you'll go in the shop, you'll buy the best sniper rifle in the game, and then to reward you, they will put you in matches that make it easier for your playstyle.
Yeah. They will first incentivize you. They will first research what kind of playstyle you prefer. Then they're going to incentivize you to buy items that are good for this playstyle. Then they will, once you make a decision to, once you make a purchase, then they will put you in matches that are easier, so that it will reinforce the fact that you made a good good economical decision.
Right, because the last thing they want is buyer's remorse with their microtransaction shop.
Exactly. So basically what they're doing is that they are brainwashing you. The music industry is doing something similar with music. Basically,
and my dad will never shut up about it.
Yeah. Basically what they're doing...
Yeah, continue.
Basically what they're doing in the music industry is that they will create an artist. They will not search for an artist that is talented. No. They will just make one up.
They'll make this dude, that's what the America's Got Talent things are all about. Is they're headhunting for talent, and you don't actually have to win the show for them to be interested in you. You just have to do well.
Yeah, they will then get you all the machinery to promote you. They will invest money into putting your songs on the radio, so that people like you and me who listen to radio for the first time, when we hear the music, the music from that made-up artist, it doesn't sound good for the first time you hear it. But they will punish you with this music over and over and over again until you will be familiar enough with it that you will like it.
Yeah, they did the same thing with hip-hop once they started pulling all of the licenses, or pulling all of those artists. They started pulling in all of these artists, and they went, wow, we need to make our money back here. What do we do? Well, it was very obvious what they wanted to do. They would pick and choose which artists they would promote, and you would hear the same song at the same time every single day.
Over and over and over again. For fuck's sake, like a song that was popular like 2 years back was literally "Blow My Whistle, Baby." A song about fellatio.
What song isn't? A year before that, it was Ice Ice Baby. Before that, it was My Milkshakes. Before that, it was Candy Shop. Like, it's always this stupid innuendo that people are humming in tune. But they're humming it in tune because it's repeated over and over and over and again. Well, yes, because that's how that industry works. They make a tune and then they put words to it that people are interested in.
Yeah, and now they're trying to do exactly the same thing with games.
Now it's video games, only instead of it's a tune, it's the satisfaction of defeating another player. And they go, hey, if you give us money, you will get this tool that lets you play our game better. And not only will you get this item like you do in every other game, but we're going to purposefully put you in games where you have the advantage, not just because you have this gun, which, by the way, we're not... This is what baffles me, too. Everyone is militant about this pay-to-win thing. People are like, oh, if you can buy virtual currency, this game is pay-to-win. Oh, if you can do this, it's pay-to-win. And so everyone's got so dog-whistled with this pay-to-win bullshit that they don't know what it actually is. This is pay-to-win. Flat out. Mm-hmm.
You buy items, and the more money you can use on those virtual items, the more powerful you become. This is pay to win. The outcome of the match is not dependent on the fact how skilled you are.
No.
It's dependent on how deep of a pocket you have.
Yes. So-called
and
wallet
they will
warriors.
do everything in their power to manipulate your dopamine center in your brain to make sure that they tie it together with the microtransactions.
Well, why do you think PlanetSide 2 is still around? PlanetSide 2 is still around because they cater to a very specific crowd of people that like a handful of things. They like squashing people in groups, and they like sniping. So, as a result, that's what's rewarded in that game. You get points for killing, you get points for teamwork. So, and you get points for like dominating. And the easiest way in any first-person shooter to dominate is to snipe, because you get more kills than you do deaths. That's just how it works.
Mm-hmm.
And now, this is interesting because these things keep popping up going, you get XP, 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 you leveled up, you got this medal, you got this, you did a new best here. And so it's building on what we kind of already knew about Skinner box theory, which is if you give the player the idea of perpetual progression, they will keep playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is why people put down campaign mode games, is they in their mind have squeezed progression out of the game.
It's basically a treadmill. You're moving forward, but you're staying in place. But you still have that sense of progression, right? But there is no benefit to it. It's just numbers going up and up and up and up.
Yes. And it's really sad that Activision has stooped to this. It's really sad. It kind of tells us
I am
what
not
they're doing.
surprised. Frankly, I am not surprised that they stooped so low. Because let's not forget that the Activision were the guys that fucking tried to remove LAN multiplayer from StarCraft 2. They were the ones who were trying to fucking butcher the game in order to pull out off as much money as possibly they could.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are not above ruining the best of games in order to make the most amount of money.
Well, yeah, they made this remake of Borderlands, and they called it Destiny, and they build Destiny as this perpetual game that never ends. And then when they made the second game, you couldn't transfer your save. All your progression was reset. So that was a lie. And then they come out with the second game, Destiny 2, and they've already come with their season plan thing. They've planned multiple seasons. It's already sickening.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason they do the seasons by seasons is so they can make you get the illusion that you're saving money on DLC when you're really not.
Mm-hmm.
Because they set the price of the DLC. They don't go to the ESRB or Steam and go, this is the content we have, how much is it worth on your market? No one does that.
Mm-hmm.
So That's why I hate this mythological games are money plus time argument. Because by that argument, indie games don't exist.
Yeah.
By that argument, DLC would cost hundreds of dollars. The base game would cost $100. Because that's closer to how much money they really put into it, those AAA games. Because that's the fucking truth of it. They dump a lot of money into these games because they are milking addictive personality people.
And they are creating those addictive personalities too. That's also important.
They're creating them. Because the shooter games create psycho killers thing. We used to laugh at that, and we used to laugh at that and go, "What are you talking about? That's never going to be a thing."
I still laugh at that because that's not true.
Well,
the games do not create psycho killers.
Let me finish the fucking thing.
Okay, go for it.
Cause here's where it's absolute bullshit. It doesn't turn you into a psycho killer. That's bullshit.
No. Yeah.
Okay? If that was if that's how it worked, then hunting would turn you into a psycho killer, or butchering animals at a farm would turn you into a psycho killer, or what have you, or becoming a soldier would. No, that one's true. It's what it does do is it makes you comfortable with pulling the trigger and defeating a person. But the other counterpoint that no one wants to talk to is that people understand what they're doing. They know there's a fucking difference.
Yeah. It's overt. But what they're doing with the microtransactions, that's covert. That's insidious.
You can't just hand a kid that's been shooting Nazis for 20 hours in Wolfenstein a gun and say, kill this person, because they're going to go, what are you talking about? That's a real life gun. I've been shooting fake Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. But with microtransactions and loot boxes, it's basically entry drag for
it's gambling.
Casinos.
Yeah.
And gambling, yeah.
Because they're going to spin to win on all these crates, and then they're going to go, wait, what's the difference between this and real gambling? Because they're teaching them that there's risk versus reward, and if you risk more, you get more. Which is exactly what gambling is.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with with those things, right, is the fact that the entire experience of gambling is empty. Because at the end of the day, you didn't earn those items. Because in normal MMOs, you earn those higher tier items when you go kill bosses, you take part in raids, you take part in hunts for materials and then craft those good items. But here, you just spin a fucking lottery wheel.
Yeah, and it's absolutely disgusting. The thing is, I used to be addicted to Founders Packs. I would pop down for all these Founders Packs, and some of the games took off, some didn't. I got burned a handful of times, that's why I stopped doing it. And then shit like Wild West Online happened, and thankfully not a lot of people got caught into that. But unfortunately people did, and they were stupid. And the thing is nowadays you go to these Founders Packs game and you just get a ton of loot crates. And you open the loot crates, you get all these endgame items, and you go, wow, this feels even more hollow than just buying it in the shop. Because I paid money, I get a bunch of cool items.
And then you can just breeze through the game.
Yep.
Yeah, and the entire the entire experience of playing the game is basically now hollow, because you are not participating on the same difficulty curve as everybody else, and the game was actually optimized for everybody else, not you, who has all those endgame items, right?
Because the reason I heckle snipers relentlessly is because they pretend like it's anywhere near the real difficulty of holding a fucking sniper rifle. They pretend like, oh, some coder put in the basics of wind drop. They're a fucking master sniper, and it's bullshit. You point and click. You point and click. You hit scan. You instantly kill people. That's all you do. You have nowhere near the level of skill that a spray and play player has, because they have to account for all the fucking more than you do. So, by the way, we've had this Team Fortress 2 graphic up for like 10 minutes and forgot to talk about it because we've been so angry at Activision.
Yeah, bottom line is, fuck Activision, fuck EA, and fuck the newcomer, the WB. So Warner Brothers, who
Why don't
is
you
making
like Warner Brothers?
Shadow of War.
They've kind of had their fingers in a lot. Like, that's not Warner Brothers. That's the company making the game.
No, but the Warner Brothers actually have an offshoot for the game development studio.
Oh yeah, they have their. Well, they're the guys who made all of those Batman games and shit.
Yeah, they did the Batmans. They did the
yeah.
Shadow. They did both War of the Ring or World of the Ring, something like that.
Yeah, they made all those shitty Lord of the Ring games, and yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So.
And they are basically driving in all of their games. They at least the newest title that they're pushing out. They're pushing microtransactions like it's the newest fucking thing, and it's actually quite disgusting.
It's really disgusting, and they're pretending, because the age-old lie is you enjoy the game just as much if you don't pay, and that's now, and they've just a patent was just filed proving that's a lie.
No, yeah, not that I'm saying that microtransactions are like don't have a place in video games, right? The microtransactions have certainly place in free-to-play games, right? Games that are released for free, but if you want to support them,
let's
you
can move on.
Indulge in microtransactions.
We got to move on.
Yeah.
So an old first-person shooter just got a new update. Their flamethrower class has new items. That's that. I haven't played TF2 in so long. I don't know anyone else that plays TF2 in so long.
Jerry.
Oh, well, yeah, the once in a blue moon when he actually fucking dusts it off. And he just plays soldier and jobbers the whole time.
I think he juggles pretty well.
Whatever. So, WizKids and Games Workshop have teamed up to start working on tabletop games.
That's nice.
Doom! Doom and gloom, the world is nigh falling skies.
So imagine now a Magic the Gathering game with figurines, and imagine D&D with cards.
Yeah.
Warhammer with cards, yes.
Because you really do need to kind of put together the puzzle pieces to really understand this. Wizards owns Dungeons and Dragons. Games and Workshop owns
Warhammer.
Games Workshop owns Warhammer, and the thing about why Games Workshop killed fantasy is they didn't own the rights to official fantasy names. So they killed off the franchise and butt fucked it and turned it into a new franchise called Age of Sigmar, which is not the same game. It was basically their first attempt at Warhammer 40k's 8th edition.
And everyone was happy about that.
And people like 8th, and it took I mean, some people still bitch about the flamethrower thing, but they kind of are bitching to bitch at this point. They're like, oh, my one figure doesn't hold up the strength of the entire group. I actually have to use tactics now. Jeez. No, we have a friend who complains incessantly about flamethrowers. He just constantly, and we're like, dude, it doesn't matter that much. You have way better abilities as Imperial Guard now that nullify anything that... You don't need a weapon that automatically destroys entire groups of squads. You don't need that.
By the way, let's return to the WizKids versus Game Workshop.
Well, it's not a versus.
Yeah, cooperation, whatever.
I mean, the graphic makes it look like a versus, but it's actually not a versus. It's it's versus the world more than anything, because WizKids owns Dungeons and Dragons. Games Workshop is now able to make Magic the Gathering game. They're able to make the stuff they talked about was like Fury of Dracula and other stuff. But the thing with Games Workshop is they have been trying to break into the role-playing game market for years. They tried to do that thing with Fantasy Flight where they used a really shitty percentile system. And so they made Rogue Trader, they made Only War. And the thing about those games is that they were terrible. So we're going to take this miniatures game and then we're going to turn it into a percentile system. When they had all of these games like Gorka Morka and Necropolis and all of those other games, and those were essentially role-playing war games. They could have just worked with that, but instead they partnered up and made a percentile system that doesn't capture the game at all.
Well, they kind of botched it.
And now they're working with WizKids, so we're gonna expect an official Dungeons & Dragons like miniatures war game. Expect stuff like that. Now, to be fair, that's not too far from what Gygax always wanted. No, I'm serious. If second edition played a lot like a war game, that's why they actually had a book that was entirely about playing it as a war game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had battle system.
Mm-hmm.
They had battle system, and it played a lot like an early version of Warhammer.
I see.
It really did.
That's interesting. Yeah, I remember like reading something about that or listening a YouTube video about this, but then it kind of escaped me, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little on the complicated side because it's second edition, but it did mass combat. Like, there was support for it, and later edition or later books for second edition supported battle systems, so they really committed to it. So we're gonna see stuff like that. I'm kind of excited personally because it's not really out of left field. It's kind of something that was always part of Dungeons and Dragons, and people make it sound like it's so the big thing that people bitched about Fourth for is, well, it's basically just a war game at this point. And they're going, well, Dungeons and Dragons was always a war game. And I went, well, no, not really. It's always focused more.
It once was a war game, or at least was close to one.
It had a wargaming aspect to it,
yeah,
but it wasn't a war game.
Yeah.
After all, they had a whole book that was as a war game. So you can't say that the base game was a war game because you needed a special book for it.
Mm-hmm.
Neener. So, moving on. Doom! An answer that nobody wanted. We need to talk about 5e backstabbing rules.
Why do we need to do that?
Well, you see, I'm Augustus Leonis, and I'm coming into 5e with heavy 1 to 2e experience, battle system, and about a 20-year gap between now and the last time I played. That wasn't in video game form. I've been working through PHP and a bit of DMG as I study Lost Mines of Phil Andor in hopes of playing a light game with my sons. Quite a bit has changed.
How would you call that accent?
I can see the future. You're gonna kill everyone. I'll stop you. I don't know.
Anyway, so what's it all about?
Oh, well, he was studying the game flow, and I guess he watched the entirety of the first episodes of Critical Role. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And
I guess.
He was doing yard work, and I guess he binge-watched the shit out of Critical Role. And something he noticed is that rogues just backstab as their main form of damage in combat. And he seems...
So, what you're trying to say is that a class that is primarily centered around ambushes, and that is somehow wrong.
Well, because they made it significantly easier to do sneak attacks, because it used to be really fucking hard. It would never happen in 2nd edition. You had to really fucking work to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
In 3.x, it was slightly easier in that you just had to do the flanking dance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not only can you do the flanking dance, but if you have an ally next to them, and later if you get a special ability, you can just be next to them. You get your sneak attack damage. So, what he's basically complaining about is that the guy would go stealth, backstab over and over again. Now, I do take umbrage to that, because a lot of people run into D&D thinking that it's just like a video game where you just roll to hide and you magically turn invisible.
Yeah, you cannot just say I hide and then suddenly you hide. You are invisible. It doesn't work like that. You first need to say how are you hiding in full view of that enemy? You can't do that.
And this is where being a halfling rogue is so tried and true, because you're fucking small. You can hide behind shit that you normally wouldn't think to hide in. Like
behind other people.
Like behind small walls or behind bushes. Like, you can legit jump into a bush and then vanish.
Yeah, and there's you can also use this smoke stick, I believe it's called.
Well, yeah, you
It's
can lay down
basically
smoke.
you throw it
can do
against
shit
the
like
ground
that.
and poof of smoke, and then you disappear ninja style. You can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's saying that in second E, sneak attack was only a special ability that you only got if you attacked first, and I guess over the editions it progressively got easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but now it just looks like all you need is another player engaged with the enemy, and boom, backstab, backstab, backstab for massive damage. It feels like there's something wrong with that mechanic outside some shadow shift ability or Nightcrawler teleportation blinking. So is something that I missed, or is it true that if my fighter is engaged with the ogre, my thief could just stand there and stealth backstab repeatedly, round after round, until it's dead? Because even if the ogre turned to me and the fighter's still attacking, I could just stealth attack for my next turn.
You don't have to really stand behind it and stab at it. You can use a crossbow, because, surprise, surprise, sneak attack works with any weapon.
Well, yeah, you can ranged. You don't get advantage, but you can range backstab. Because it's dirty fighting. That's what backstab damage really is now. Well, yes, that is mechanically how easy it is. You do more damage as a rogue now. Now, the reason that is because other classes will outdamage you no matter what the later levels. So
your job is to not be a damage dealer. Your job is to be utilitarian.
Yes, in 3.x you did more damage, but more often than not you were a skill monkey and that's all you were for.
Yep. You had a shit ton of skills.
You just had a bunch of skill points and that was all you were really for. You would be this utilitarian guy that people would parade around and go, yeah, we have a rogue, and that's all your job was. You just did environmental shit, and you kind of did damage in combat. And so they wanted to move around this only certain classes can be useful in combat thing that 3.x had. So that's why that happened. They did that so that rogues are effective at later levels. Especially because that's what people always expect when they play a rogue. They expect to kill guards in a single hit. They always expect that, and this mechanic lets them do that.
Yeah, and that's basically coming into the mindset of being rogues as assassins, basically. You damage one person, but you deal a massive amounts of damage. There are wizards or sorcerers that can use spells that have splash damage that do mediocre damage, but to many targets at the same time, which when it all sums up, it comes to a lot of damage.
Yeah.
There's basically a lot of different styles of game that can be achieved in D&D. And they are trying to basically give everyone a way to shine.
Yeah, because every week it seems there's a person that does not understand how 5th edition works. They come in and they say, I want to be useful in combat, what do I pick? And we go, anything, you idiot.
Yes. Go for anything you want. The important thing is not to be effective in combat, or at least not to approach it from this perspective. You should approach it from the perspective, what do I want? What would make me happy? What would make me have a lot of fun time?
Indeed.
And once you accomplish that, you're good. You're golden. You will have fun.
And that's what it's all about, having fun. That's why they do more damage, because you want to be a late game rogue and feel like you're powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Because the issue with the late game 3.x rogue is that you're still relying on the flanking dance. So there's this huge caveat dangled over your head the whole time. And it sucks.
Mm-hmm. There's not much that can be done against that, though.
Yeah, that's why I laugh at the people that pretend that Pathfinder is this different game that's better than D&D. It's not.
It's decent.
It's okay. It's a good.
It's
a
a lot of
good
fun.
addendum to 3.5. You can add a lot of those rules to 3.5 and have a better experience. But is it better than 5? No. No, it's not. Want to fight about it?
I would say that it's down to personal preference.
Indeed. And if your preference is different than mine, you're wrong.
And let's leave it at that.
I kid, but that's our show. The lovely anti-Activision train wreck. It was. The good thing is they can't demonetize.
It still is. It's wonderful.
Well, the good thing.
I want
Huh?
Activision to basically fail so hard because of this that they're going to be out of the market.
Well, you know why that's not going to happen?
They will cease to exist.
Because even
I do.
Because even if a movement happens, they're going to slander it like they did the last time. Because that's what Gamergate was. It was a bunch of journalists talking about, hey, there's this real stink in the industry. And then the industry paid a bunch of trolls to throw anti-feminist shit around. Or just throw a bunch of feminist shit around. It was fucking bullshit. Or yeah, it would be anti-feminist shit, like this misogynist bullshit that they're spreading. And then they pointed at that and went, well, that's what Gamergate is. It's a anti-woman movement meant to bigotize the gamer journalist industry. It's all about the journalists.
This is who gamers are. All gamers are misogynists that threaten women with rape and death and stuff like that. While in reality, Gamergaters were really about transparency in the fucking industry, because bastards reviewers were sleeping together with publishers and giving games high scores because
they were getting bribed.
They're in the business of fucking advertisement and not journalism. That's
yeah, it's just a bunch of bribery going on. So that's what's going to happen this time, is a new Gamergate is going to arise, and then within the week, there's suddenly going to be villains, they're going to be white supremacists, I don't know what the fuck they're going to be, but they're going to come up with some bad name to call them. There's going to be a lot of name calling, because the fact of the matter is, you want to know why there's no change in democracy. It's because they are able to throw money at it and people will listen.
And on that bombshell...
Oh, and by the way, the episode's over. Have a good day.